20 years they erased me, now they want in my mansion. The HOA brands me unsafe, whispers coil around. I tear the notice, you won't bury me twice. Flushed a morning with coffee and a palm on the porch rail to feel the grain I sealed last fall. The mountains breathe a cool line of air across my knuckles. Inside my workshop waits, pegboard, hand planes, the step stool plan pinned above the bench like a quiet promise. I pull on the shop apron, open the laptop, and create a fresh note in a folder I named Quiet Receipts. Date, time, one sentence. What was said, what was done, nothing extra. I don't chase people anymore. I record the weather they make and decide when to open an umbrella. Cuff up my steps. She's 2 doors down. Widow of a mailman who once fixed everybody's screen doors for free. Morning, Bob, she says, peering around the jam like she's half invited already. Saw your son's car last week. He doing the loop again? Oops, I say. None of them stop here. She tilts her head. People forget. They remember perfectly, I say, brushing sawdust into my palm. I'm the one who's done forgetting. She follows my eyes to the drawing on the wall. That for someone? She asks. It was, I say, a long time ago. Her mouth presses thin. Well, Lily's grown. Pretty as a sunrise. Folks say she's back in town. Good for her. Tension you to the deacon, she offers. He listens to me. I say kindly as I can. If he asks, tell him I'll sign any list that's posted and keep every rule that's written. That's not always how church works. It's how it should. I sand a scrap of pine until the edge is a soft radius. The step stool plan shows each cut. Simple, square, strong. There's a comfort to it. Measure twice, cut once, and nobody argues with a line that holds. Shame grows wild in the places where rules are a rumor and kindness is a weapon. The phone blinks. A voicemail from years back sits where I filed it. I let it play while I sharpen a chisel. Blitz stopped dropping by unannounced, Bob. Vanessa's voice says, sugar over steel. You set the rule? I answer the memory under my breath. I kept it, then keep it. I have, I tell the empty room. On the fridge is a flyer I tore from the city bulletin. City Parks grant window opens July 1st. Big blue letters, no wiggle. I smooth the tape with my thumb until the corner lies flat. Deadlines don't take sides, they just arrive. With a paper bag of day-old muffins she swears she didn't buy for this exact errand. You walk this morning? She asks. Blue Ridge Parkway, I say. Milepost marker, up to the overlook, back before the sun could boss me. Good, she sets the bag on the bench. I could tell Lily you were asking after her. I wasn't. Well, I could tell her you weren't. That might be useful, I smile. But no message. Let everybody come when they're ready and not as a favor. She nods, then pats the bag. Raisin, don't pretend you don't like raisin. I tolerate raisin, I like straight lines. Lord help us, she says, laughing on her way down the steps. When the door clicks shut, the room goes to the honest noises, pencil on wood, the soft burr as steel kisses stone. I take a picture of the bench for no one in particular and save it next to today's note. Outside, a kid on a bike runs a squeaky brake at the corner and whoops when he makes it without putting a foot down. I set the chisel aside and look at the plan one more time. It's not a monument, it's a way to reach the cake without wobbling. If someone ever wants another, I'll make it again. Safer than any binder's rule. I kept my dignity with silence, and it's heavier than it looks. The phone pings. Calendar community court idea? I tap snooze. Another day won't hurt, and the line will be straighter for it. The measuring tape rides my belt like a habit I don't have to think about. I lock the shop and take the long way toward town, past crepe myrtles that shed little flags on the sidewalk. The afternoon's got that quiet in it where you can hear your own shoes. St. Jude's sits on its corner, like a memory that refuses to blink. In the entry hall, a cork board holds the week in paper. Prayer list, bake sale, softball schedule. Someone has straightened every push pin to attention. A fresh notice reads, volunteer sign-ups due Sunday, 5 p.m. I don't touch it. I just let my eyes do the touching. Deadlines are the only fair ushers I've met. A young mom reaches across me to pin a cupcake flyer. The thumbtack squeaks. Lines, she says to no one and everyone. Do we post those too? I ask, friendly as a clerk. She smiles the way people do when they don't know they're holding a knife. Oh, they're understood, I say. If a rule can't bear a stool, it isn't a rule. She blinks like I've spoken in shop math and goes on pinning. Someone behind me says the word unsanctioned in a whisper that lands on the back of my neck and stays there. I step outside before the frosting smell from the fellowship hall pulls me backward too fast. On the walk home, I try to count houses instead of years. The tape measure taps against my hip at every curb, steady as a metronome. I'm not going to tell the story with heat. I'm going to tell it with angles and dates. Starting where it started, at the cake table, with my hands already clean. Back in the workshop, the light has shifted from white to late afternoon honey. I take the step stool down from the shelf where I keep the past out of eyesight. It's wrapped in the paper I used then, brown with string knotted simple and square, because bows are for people who want attention. Oiled pine still glows through the paper scuffs. I set it on the bench and breathe once, the way I do before the first cut. The knot remembers me. It lets go easy. I unwind the string and slip it into my apron pocket. The paper opens with a sigh that sounds like a porch screen in summer. There's a card taped to the top, the little folded kind that comes in packs of 10. I don't open it, not yet. I run my thumbnail along the edge where paper meets wood, and memory presses up as if it's trying to get out through my hands. Vanilla frosting, paper plates gone soft under lemonade, sunlight through balloons that made everybody look pinker than they wanted. I set the stool beside a table that had more cake than sense, and before I could say, rounded edges, Vanessa lifted it with 2 fingers like she was picking up a dead thing by the tail. Classify about rules, she said back then, so sweet the ants would have left the cake for her voice. What does the rule say about solid pine? I asked. Mark looked at the grass. The grass looked back. It says unsanctioned items don't belong on child height surfaces. Vanessa read from a binder that might as well have been scripture. Unsanctioned? I tried the word on my tongue and tasted cardboard. It's not personal, she added, which is the trick people use when it's mostly personal. Then do it to the stool, I said. Not to me. I can say without falling through the floor. The rest belongs to tomorrow, when I'll lay the scene square and leave it to level itself in your mind. I won't carry a grudge into it. I'll carry the same measuring tape I carried today, and it will sit there quietly and make everything true or not true. My phone buzzes. I ignore it. A wind moves the window fan just enough to point at the bench, and a curl of paper lifts off the stool's corner and settles again like decision postponing itself. The shame still smells like vanilla frosting. I write that sentence on an index card and tape it under the step stool plan, not for drama, but for accuracy. Wood, sugar, soft plates. The angle a hand makes when it's pretending not to shake. I slide the ribbon into the drawer where I keep spare screws. The card stays taped shut on the stool, a little white door I'm not walking through yet. I'll open it in the right room, with the right witnesses, even if they're only words in my head. On my way out, I pass the fridge and glance at the church bulletin I photographed with my eyes an hour ago. Sunday, 5 p.m. I don't need a picture. I have a clock, and I have patience. The workshop goes to that evening hush I like. I switch off the task lamp and leave the card unopened, the paper smoothed, the string pocketed, the word unsanctioned sitting where I can step around it. I took the step stool in both hands so nobody would mistake it for flimsy. Round edges, oiled pine, 4 felt pads that wouldn't scuff a kitchen tile if you begged them. I set it beside the cake table, where the balloons made everyone look like they'd gotten more sun than they had. Vanessa reached first, 2 fingers the way you'd pluck lint off a black coat. This isn't safe, she said, bright as patio string lights. We have guidelines. What does the rule say about solid pine? I asked. Professional, a 3-ring binder. Tabs, highlights, bullet points like a marching band. Unsanctioned items do not belong on child height surfaces. Unsanctioned? I tried the word, it tasted like paper. It's not personal. If kindness needs a binder, I said, it isn't kindness. Teared at the grass like it might tell him what to do. The grass, being smarter than the both of us, kept its counsel. She lifted the stool again. A balloon popped somewhere behind us, sharp enough to make the children inhale in chorus. The sound felt like punctuation at the end of a sentence I couldn't get out of. A dad I recognized from the cul-de-sac mouthed, sorry, and didn't move. Bob, Vanessa said, softer for the audience. You're undermining us. Please don't make a scene. I brought something sturdy for a 5-year-old to reach a cake, I said, that's all. It back, she answered and smiled like hospitality had rules and I'd failed the quiz. 2 teens carried the stool to the curb like it had done something wrong. Someone clapped for the cake. The clapping seemed to accuse me of not clapping loudly enough. Dad? Mark said, voice tight and polite. Maybe give us some space. How much? I asked him. He shook his head. I watched him choose a quiet that hurt both of us and only showed on one face. Quiet voices can cut deeper than shouts. I walked out with my hands empty and my back straight, because if you leave bent, you stay bent. On the sidewalk, I looked at the stool, then back at the party. A little girl I didn't know licked frosting off a candle and grinned at nothing. I wanted to tell her the stool wasn't the unsafe thing here. I wanted to tell myself that too. With the paper plate, the one who mouthed sorry, stepped near the fence line as I passed. His voice was a whisper, meant for one set of ears. I'll send you something, he said. It felt wrong, wildfires. What felt wrong? All of it, he said, and looked at the binder like it was a third person. I took the long way back to my car. The stool sat at the curb while the party sang. I didn't wait to see who took it. Some losses aren't worth a rescue when the point was never the object. My night I opened my filled with the hum of a fan and the honest scuff of a chair leg on old wood. The email arrived like a breath held too long. Fetal. A parent whose yard touches the Harringtons. Subject. This felt wrong. Weakest. Say, a photo binder open to the page with unsanctioned items underlined. The caption in the body said only, for what it's worth. I saved the message to quiet receipts with the headers preserved and looked once, exactly once, at the top line. Sent Saturday, 4:52 p.m. Bridges enough proof for a night. On my monitor, the city website sat where I'd left it from a week earlier. Blue banner steady. Neighborhood court grant opens in 30 days. I didn't click further. I just let the clock show me what it shows everybody. And I wrote a line on a note card with a Sharpie so I wouldn't forget the order of things. One day we read it out loud. I slid the card into the folder and closed the laptop. The church office alcove smells like paper and lemon cleaner. A clipboard waits on a folding table with a pen chained to it like temptation. I print my name where the column says, Workshop Volunteers, and write the hours I can give. Straight letters, no flourish. I take a photo in my head and put the real phone back in my pocket. Record first, perform never. On the corkboard above the table, a flyer says what nobody can argue with. Volunteer roster finalized Sunday 5 p.m. I let that line settle me. A deadline is a fair referee if you let it blow the whistle. Deacon Mills steps out from his office, tie slightly crooked from a long day. Politically, he says, smiling like he's smoothing air, appreciate the heart. You'll get the hands that come with it, I say. He glitched to full of dynamics. Which ones? Just a few concerns. Unease can speak on the record, I say. That's the point of a roster. He nods without agreeing. We'll be in touch. Behind us with a stack of programs. Paper rasps on paper. Blinked. Boundaries, he pushes. One whispers. Don't start, the other murmurs back. Let's keep peace. I don't turn. The office door clicks shut behind the deacon, and I understand I've been moved into a meeting I wasn't invited to. Outside, the day has the heat of a pan warming up. I walk to the cracked half-court near the mailboxes and pull my measuring tape without thinking. The hook catches the edge of a broken paint line, and I give it a snap. The steel sings, bright and certain. I string a chalk line between 2 finishing nails and hand the reel to a teen who's been waiting for a grown-up to say yes. Thumb on the reel, I tell him. When I nod, lift and let it kiss. He grins. 3, 2, dumbed, count, I say. Just listen. He listens. The line snaps and a clean ghost appears across the gray. 2 more kids show, then 3. I assign small corner, pick pebbles from the cracks, keep the roller tray out of the sun. I don't make speeches. I draw a box around a problem and let people step into it. Tress hours later, my phone buzzes while I'm rinsing brushes in a 5-gallon bucket. A church parent has posted a link to the week's roster for transparency. I click. The list loads with names and slots. Mine is not one of them. Disregard, swear, I don't shot buttons, open email, and send the image to myself with a subject line I'll find in a hurry 10 chapters from now. The header line at the top of the message reads exactly what I need it to read. Sent, Tuesday, 3:14 p.m. Close, logistics. I forward the same mail to a folder labeled /church, and in a notebook I note the time, place, and who had access to the list. No adjectives, just nouns, the kind that carry their own weight. My phone vibrates again, a text from Mark. Mom heard you're signing up for things at church. Quote, I signed a list, I reply, not a treaty. Jack, just be careful. Quote, always am. Quote, he types, stops, types again, stops. The bubbles give up. We both know what he's not saying. Back at the court, the teens are tracing the key with chalk. Mae Thompson from the HOA slows her car, rolls the window down. Looks good, she says. Free labor fits any budget, I answer. She smiles. Board has a work session on the 15th. Bring whatever you've got. I'll bring exactly that. Desperation of slices I bought because I remember what sugar and water did for me when work was new. Nobody asks who's in charge. The line we snap says everything about authority I need said. If they won't let me inside their rooms, I'll build rooms outside. I pack the brushes in a plastic bag to keep them from hardening wrong and wipe the tape measure clean before it goes back on my belt. The sun relaxes. I don't. When I get home, the laptop wakes up fast, like it's been waiting. I drop the screenshot into quiet receipts and type 2 lines. Roster posted, name removed, time noted. The inbox dings while I'm still writing. Tay from Deacon Mills. Ject. Let's discuss concerns. I don't open it. Not yet. The subject line says enough for a night. The roller tray shivers when the first stripe takes paint. I let a teen hold the handle while I guide the edge with a taped yardstick. The line appears like a promise kept, bright, straight, louder than any speech I could make. Clang off for a minute, I say. Let the paint do the drying. They back up obediently, orange slices in hand. One kid raises his phone and snaps a photo like we just hung a banner. Get the sign-in sheet, I tell another. First names, time. We're not counting heroics, we're counting hands. He writes careful block letters. I take a single photo of the line with my measuring tape laid beside it, so the distance tells its own truth. The phone screen shows 10:14 a.m. I let the number live there and not in my mouth. Mark arrives like applause that's too loud. He claps once, twice, then climbs onto the curb so people can see him not being angry. Folks, this is sweet, he calls, smile bright as the paint. My dad loves these little projects because he likes being in charge. He'll steamroll you if you let him. The air goes brittle. A couple of volunteers pocket their gloves. A teen looks at me like I might explode or vanish. I don't do either. For closure but roller, I say to the nearest kid. Edges first. Keep your wrist loose. Muzzle laughs, friendly on the surface. See? Right back to directing. Or teaching, I say. Depends on whether you came to help or narrate. Thompson's SUV slows at the curb. Window down, sunglasses on. She says nothing, which is sometimes the kindest thing a person can say. She watches the work instead, the way a good judge watches hands. Let's switch, I tell the first teen. You call the line, I'll follow you. Disillusion at Mark and decides not to be afraid of my last name. 3 feet, he says, eyes on the tape. Lift. Now. The yardstick lifts. The roller kisses. The stripe extends. Mark folds his arms. Let others lead, Dad. I asked, I say without looking up. You performed. A few people huff a laugh. It's not a win. It's enough oxygen to keep the fire from dying. He leans in, voice low for me alone. You don't have to fix everything with a tool in your hand. I don't, I say, just the things that need fixing. Like your reputation? Lance, like this court. He steps back, brightness dimmed. He could stay and help. He doesn't. He pockets his clap and walks away, and the silence he leaves is useful. It holds the sound of rollers turning. Names and times, I remind the kid at the table. He flips the sign in toward me so I can see it's tidy. I nod, take the page and slide it into a manila folder. One scan later, it'll live where things don't get misplaced. The kids cheer when we finish the baseline. It's so clean, the whole court feels different, like we replaced the asphalt under our shoes. I take the photo set quickly, one from each corner, the measuring tape just in frame, so nobody has to trust my memory later. May pulls up to the edge of the lot and kills the engine. She steps out, looks at the line, then at the faces. Looks good, she says. Board's got a work session, August 15, 6 p.m. Public comment is limited, but bring what you have. Tears, I say, and a straight line. Breach both, she says, mouth curving. She lifts a hand to the kids. Nice work. Thank you, ma'am, they chorus, because someone raised them right. He photos to myself, one email, subject line, court, baseline plus sign-ins. I scan the sheet at the folding table with the little app that squares edges so a page looks like it respects itself. Then I tuck the original into the folder like it earned the right to be kept. Tej, asked the smallest teen, holding the roller a little like a sword. Absolutely, I say, just don't duel with it. Mark is gone. His echo hangs around, but echoes can't move paint. Only hands can. Pride edged with dread that rumor will bend the line. I let the feeling have one breath and then put it back where it won't trip me. My phone buzzes. An email from the HOA hits the inbox. Board work session, August 15th, 6 p.m., public comment limited. Another buzz follows before I can put the phone away. Auto reply. Your inquiry has been received. I smile because bureaucracy, for all its sins, at least leaves tracks. Water, I tell the crew. Then we do the key. They whoop and run for the cooler like it's halftime at the state championship. I save the photos to quiet receipts, --grant, and --HOA, one message, headers intact, and slide the phone into my pocket. The line glints white in the sun. It will dry straighter than the stories about me, but I'm learning to let work do the arguing. Rain made the old duplex stairs a slow dance. I kept my hand on the rail because wet wood and pride don't mix. Back then, my door had a peephole set a little too low. Like the installer guessed short people lived there. Through it, I saw a shape on the landing. My son's shoulders under a hood that made him younger than he already was. He didn't knock. He slid something under the door, quick and flat, like a waiter with a check he hoped I wouldn't read. The envelope edged across the linoleum and kissed my boot. Mark, I said through the wood. A pause. Rain ticked on the stairwell window. Somewhere behind the wall, a neighbor coughed once, then held it like a secret. We need space, he said. His voice had that splinter in it you only hear when the grain is running the wrong way. How long, I asked. Umbled, I don't know. Another cough behind the wall, a mirror to my own chest. Please don't tell her I came. I won't, I said. It felt like the opposite of truth and still the only honest thing to say. He went down the steps fast enough to make the treads complain. I unlocked the door and picked up the envelope by the edges like it could bruise. The flap was blank, but for his handwriting, my handwriting's impatient cousin. I took a pen and wrote the date along the gum line, small and neat. I didn't open it. I didn't even hold it up to the light. If truth can't stand daylight, it isn't ready to lead. The neighbor coughed again after Mark's footsteps faded. I stood with the envelope and listened until the rain evened out and the building remembered how to breathe. Clang years later, the clock insists on that word. I set the same envelope on my workshop bench and pulled the task lamp close. The paper had yellowed to the color of old recipes. I placed today's newspaper beside it so any camera would know what day the camera told. I ran along the masthead like a clean rule. I took 2 photographs, front, back. No filters, no angles. The click sounded louder than it should have, like the room objected to making this private weight visible. Miss Ellison tapped the door with one knuckle and stayed on the threshold. "Brought those screws I promised," she said, holding up a tin that rattled like hail. "Set them there," I said. "And if you have a second, I could use a favor that doesn't touch the thing itself. Look at the envelope long. Kindness knows how to keep its eyes to itself." "Tell me," she said. "I need a line in your handwriting that says you've seen this envelope in my possession for years. Not what's in it, not how it came, just that it existed where I say it did." "Can do," she said. "You want dates?" "Keep it plain. Today's date is enough. Your name, one sentence." Hurricanes like we'd settled a price, then pulled a grocery receipt from her purse and a pen from behind her ear. The pen made that tiny scratch that says the world is still legible. She signed and dated, slid the receipt back to my side of the table, and stepped back again so the boundary stayed where I'd put it. "You ever going to open it?" she asked. "In the right room," I said. "With witnesses. Then I'll bake something that isn't raisin," she said, and left the screws, which seemed suddenly more generous than they were. I scanned the front, the back, and Miss Ellison's line in a single slow breath of a montage. Lamp glare, tap to focus, save to quiet receipts, /family. The photos bracketed the envelope like parentheses around a sentence I wasn't ready to read. I put the actual paper back in the fireproof box labeled letters, and I closed it with the same care you give a stubborn valve. Steady, no force. On the corkboard, a sticky note stared me down. "Grant submission Friday 5 p.m. I moved it a quarter inch so the edge lined exactly with the next note. Precision is a way to keep fear from spilling. The phone buzzed across the bench. An email from the local paper. "Heard about the court project? Can we get a quote and a photo?" I watched the subject line light up and go still again. "Wilmington," I let it fall. "Some things you answer later so you don't answer them wrong now." I kept the letter closed because opening it would have split me too. I gave that line one breath, the breath I could spare, and then I looked at the clock and let the rain in my memory be rain, and the day in front of me be the only day with a say. Underestimated shows up with a contractor's level long enough to moonlight as a fence rail. He sets it on the baseline we laid and squints like a mason reading a poem. "Your slope's good," he says. "2 ADA tweaks, and you're better than the city's average." "Tell me where," I say. Underestimated taps a crack with a pencil. "Feather compound here, shave a lip there." He glances at my measuring tape coiled beside his level. "You still like lines. Lines like me back." A reporter with a canvas tote circles the kids who are warming up with layups. "Mind if I shoot?" she asks. "Shoot what the work looks like," I tell her. "Not me." She smiles. "Fair. I'll email you photo permissions so you can use them in your packet." The teens dribble and laugh and almost run through fresh paint until I hold up a palm. "Walk the sideline till I say go." They obey because someone sounds certain without shouting. Luis flips to a form on his clipboard. "Field note," he says. "I'll state the crack patch remedy, confirm your line spacing, sign in time, shuffled in time. Say, undertake measurements, materials, one sentence on safe use. Clean nouns, no adjectives." He signs with a blocky engineer's hand and dates the line. I watch his pen write the time, neat and sure. "Signed 4:18 p.m. "Photo that and file it," he says, as if he's known me for years. I do one shot square, glare off, then pocket the phone like it's not the point. Vanessa's name lights my screen before I can lock it. "Vanessa, you're making this about you again." "Me." The paint dries for everyone. "Vanessa, you've always needed an audience." "Me. I needed a court kids could play on. If that's a crowd, good." Yin watches a teen bounce the ball and calls, "Check your wrist." The boy relaxes and hits the bank with a clean kiss. The reporter gets the shot. The kids cheer like they invented rectangles. May's SUV idles at the curb. She steps out with sunglasses perched high and takes in the whole picture. The line, the laughter, the engineer's level, the reporter's lens. "You brought witnesses," I say. He answers. "And the boards are open, some of them anyway." "Worst case question," I say. At the teens, liability? Posted hours, posted rules, Volunteer waiver for organized events, Luis says before I can. And he's adding a shed with a lock so chemicals stay put. Plans drafted, I add, ready to hand to whoever needs to sign that they saw it. The reporter lowers her camera. What's your quote? I almost give her a sermon and instead give her a plank. Community is a straight line everyone can see. That'll run, she says. Email incoming with photo permissions. Her thumbs move. A second later, my phone buzzes with a new subject line. Photo usage permission. I don't open it yet. I don't need to. It will be where I put it. Luis rolls the level into his palm and hands me the form. Keep this dry, he says. Compounds hate moisture and so do signatures. I'll give both a roof, I say. During tape. You still carry that thing like a badge. It's cheaper than a siren, I tell him, and it stops arguments sooner. I let the kids back onto the paint. Light feet, I warn. Pretend the line is a sleeping cat. They tiptoe then forget to. And the world doesn't end because sometimes the point is a little joy smudging a perfect edge. I step to the bench and tap my phone awake. The city portal smiles its bureaucratic smile. Application due Friday, 5 p.m. I take that smile seriously. Deadlines don't like being laughed at. When the line holds, so do I. I give myself that one thought and go back to listening. The court sounds like sneakers negotiating with summer. Squeak, hush, squeak. May shades her eyes and looks past me at the kids. You know this will make a few people mad. Order makes everybody mad for a week, I say. Then they use it. True, she says. Bring your packet to the work session. Unprotected again. You're courting attention, Bob. Nihil. I'm courting the court. The rest will seat itself. I coil my tape, lay it beside Luis's level, and let the two tools sit like a handshake. The reporter snaps a last frame of the level and the tape sleeping side by side. It's the only portrait of me I'm willing to sign. Anything else you want on record? The reporter asks. Only that I won't be the loudest voice in the story, I say. The lines will. She nods and packs her lens, satisfied. The teens run suicides without being told because somebody started and the rest followed. I like that kind of leadership. It shows up and goes quiet. May checks her phone, then steps closer so her words don't carry to the kids. One more thing, she says, almost apologetic. A formal complaint already hit the queue. Come to the work session. The freeze email lands at 9:40 a.m. like a lid on a pot. Subject, cease construction pending review. From HOA admin, I read it once, slow, and let my shoulders settle before my fingers do anything they can't unsend. I forward it to quiet receipts, opera/HOA with the headers intact. Then I breathe the way carpenters do. Count to 4 on the inhale, set the tool down, decide if the cut can wait. Take, I tell the empty kitchen. We'll show our work. Sticky on the laptop frame. Grant due Fry, 5 p.m. I leave it where it is like a compass. The calendar squares up the next clock. HOA review August 15, 6 p.m. I add the event with one tap and no comments. At the court, morning light makes the flaws honest. I photograph the trip points, the patched crack, the swept grit. Each frame with the measuring tape in view so any eye with sense can see what inches say. Before, after, wide, close, no artsy angles. A man in a polo cuts across the gravel and stops just out of my shadow. Hope the city's insured, he mutters, raising his phone for a vague, all-purpose picture. If an elder falls, that's on someone. Posted hours and posted rules, I say, not looking up. We keep them in the sun where people can read. He snorts, pockets his opinion, and keeps walking. Gravel complains under his heels like the lot is tired of that tone. My phone buzzes. Luis, keep it factual, avoid adjectives. Say temporary pause, safety plan attached. Me, copy, thanks. Luis, and volunteer use only until board decision. Underwent. That line helps. I draft a reply to the HOA that's shorter than my temper. Acknowledged. We'll pause volunteer work until the review. Attached are time-stamped photos and a one-page safety plan, posted hours, youth supervision, tool storage, happy to present at the August 15th work session. The still court to hear if any word tries to lean, none do. Bracelets, at the kitchen table, The laptop fan whirs while the attachments climb into the message. The subject line stays exactly what it is. I don't try to sell calm. I send CC to Marchulian app. The sent time slides onto the thread like a bead on wire. Vanessa's text arrives as if summoned by the word pause. Vanessa. Saw the freeze. Maybe sit down, Bob. Me. I'm standing where the lines will be. Vanessa. You're proving our point. Me. With receipts. TLI walk the court again for 3 more photos because nerves make hands sloppy, and I don't gift that to anyone. The measuring tape appears in each frame like a witness who doesn't mind being quoted. May's number shows in voicemail while I'm still out. I listen with the wind in my ear. Bob, it's May. Bring your packet to the work session. Don't argue via email. We'll sort it in the room. She doesn't say who filed the complaint. She doesn't have to. The shape of the hole tells you the nail that made it. Not a stop, it's a pause with paperwork. I give that line its one breath and tuck it back. The day still has room in it for honest work. Roll up drop clause, seal the paint, leave the site cleaner than I found it. When I sit down again, the grant due Friday 5 p.m., note stares like a coach who cares. I move the grant folder to the center of the screen and leave the freeze open in a side tab, quiet as a warning bell. The inbox chirps with an auto response I expected. Your message has been received. No comfort, no threat, just the sound of a bureaucracy putting a pin in my name. I save the whole thread to /HOA, close the laptop with my palm flat to keep from slamming, and set the tape measure on top of it like a paperweight that happens to tell the truth. At 4:10 p.m., the kitchen turns into a small office with better light. I line up the files like I line up cuts. Field note PDF, photo permission email printed to PDF, baseline photo set, sign-in sheet, one-page safety plan. The cursor blinks in the city portal like a metronome tapping my patience. Kazakhstan, I call the clerk because sometimes calm starts with a human voice. Parks and Rec, she answers, bored in a kind way. Checking that I'm in the right queue for the neighborhood court grant, I say. You are. Packet looks complete when all the boxes are green. Any trick to the photos? Position and don't upload them all at once. The portal chokes. Redskins. Noted, I say. Thank you for telling me what most people wait to learn the hard way. She laughs once. Clocks right on your screen. Good luck. A feed the portal like wait, breathe. One file, wait, breathe. The progress bars creep like fresh paint and shade. Mark calls. I let it ring twice to decide what part of me should answer. Hey, I say. Let the city handle it, Dad. I just did. Greeted. You know what I mean. I usually do. He exhales. This is starting to look excessive. It'll look like a playable court by fall, I say. That's the point. You don't have to be the name on it. A number on it, I say. Somebody has to pick up. Apps, a box goes green. Another refuses. The portal logs me out as if to ask whether I want this enough to log back in. I do. I re-enter the password without drama and keep my hands from hurrying. Hurrying is how you mismeasure. Take, I add, before he can hang up. It would help if you didn't clap and then warn people about steamrollers. People need to know what they're dealing with. They see a straight line, I say. They can deal with that. He goes quiet. Mom says, I know what Mom says. She thinks you're performing. I'm building, I say. If the city prints my name in 6-point type, I'll live. The final box waits like a judge who doesn't blink. I check the attachments again. The cursor hovers over submit. For a second, the kitchen draws in tight like a belt after lunch. I click. The screen whirs and then throws confetti in municipal gray. An email pings before I can smile. I open it and look only where proof lives. Received, 4:58 p.m. Subject, application received, under review. I forward the receipt to quiet receipts, grant headers intact, and let my shoulders drop one notch. The portal flips to under review. Decisions by Augs 20. I like clocks when they're honest. Communicator order emails. Great timing. Can we run a blurb? Need a quote and a photo you like. I step onto the porch and take a picture of the court from my front steps. Kids in the distance, The fresh baseline, a clean white sentence. On the edge of the frame, I set the step stool I kept from years ago and don't explain it. Let readers see care without me pointing. Take the corner store later. I buy a cold soda I won't finish because some habits feel like prizes even when you don't want them. The owner rings it. The door chime complains. Hope this isn't another vanity project, a man says to the room as if it were a person. Hope you like free basketball, I answer without heat. He shrugs at the air. Shrugs can hurt if you let them. Back home, I type a quote in the reporter's reply field. We measured twice and put the line where the neighborhood could use it. It's not poetry. It's not supposed to be. I don't hit send. Not yet. Some words improve with one night in the drawer. I like clocks when they're honest. I give that line its breath. Then close the laptop so the feeling can cool into something useful. The blurb lands first, small headline, big photo of kids tiptoeing a bright white baseline like it's a sleeping cat. I don't read the adjectives. I look where proof lives, a line under the byline that says, published, 9:12 a.m. I screenshot it once, square and clean, and file it to Quiet Receipts Press. Then I put the phone away so I don't start acting like a man checking mirrors. By late morning, the court hums. The measuring tape sits coiled on the painted edge beside Luis's level, a little still life of how order gets made. Luis texts a thumbs up. Memo looks good folded into your packet. Nothing flowery. Good, I reply. Let nouns work. The city portal on my phone still wears its neutral face. Under review, decisions by August 20th. I show it to no one and let it keep time for me. His name lights the screen. Attention-seeking Bob. Me. The work is the attention. Vanessa. You've always needed a spotlight. Me, I needed a straight line. People can use it or not. Flooded mail carriers cut across the lot with their satchels riding high. One palms a ball, banks it off glass, and laughs at himself like a good sport. Lines are clean, he calls. They're supposed to be, I answer. Taha's partner tosses a pass to a kid. He's got a left hand, she says, impressed. Watch your delivery window, I say, mock stern. We're on break, she grins and jogs off, whistling a song that belongs to sidewalks. The reporter texts 2 words, quote confirmed, and a link to the live page. I type, delete, type again, then settle on, community is the line everyone can see. She thumbs up reacts and leaves me alone, which is the kind of press I can live with. May idles at the curb, sunglasses glinting. She steps out and lets the scene speak first. Kids, mail carriers, chalk dust in the seams, the level and the tape curled like a handshake. Bored mood, I ask? Warmer, she says. Not unanimous, but warmer. She tilts her head at the teens. This helps. I'll bring the packet, I say. Bring the tone, she counters. Short answers. Let the memo do the heavy lifting. Short. She lowers her voice. There's a person pushing the unsafe elder narrative. Keep your witnesses close. I didn't go anywhere, I say. They came to the line. She looks at the level in the tape amused. You stage your props well. They stage themselves, I say. I just don't move them. The ball thumps off the glass again, a friendly heartbeat. Somewhere a cicada starts its generator. Vanessa again, you're teaching kids to ignore rules. Me, I'm teaching them to read the ones posted. City saw the blurb, May adds, checking her phone. No promises, but optics are tidy. Optics are a story people tell because they were too far away to hear dialogue, I say. Then keep your dialogue clean, she says, opening her door. Work session still August 15, 6 p.m. Quad at the baseline and tap the measuring tape into a tighter coil. Being seen without shouting feels like oxygen. I don't know how long it will last. I know I'm not going to gulp. Luis strolls up, late lunch in hand. He taps the level with a knuckle. Still straight. AM, even after a dozen layups, I say. Physics likes confidence, he answers deadpan. And compound. Speaking of compound, I say, your field memo, good to go in the packet? Good to go. Don't change a word, he smirks. You won't. Kids crowd him for court advice, which he dispenses in 2-sentence parcels. Knees soft, hips under you. Authority can whisper if it carries a tool. I let the morning play out without trying to steal credit from it. The tape and levels stay in frame for one more photo I won't post. The city's clock holds steady at August 20. The neighborhood seems to breathe easier. That changes the air by a degree. Realtor, open escrow, 9 a.m. The subject line sits in my inbox like a sealed box on a doorstep. I don't open it, not yet. Line is plain as a ledger. Open escrow, 9 a.m. I click and the portal blooms into boxes and dates. The measuring tape rests on my porch rail like a paperweight that knows more than it lets on. The banner on the cover sheet does the only shouting I need. Close date, T14. I take one square, glare-free photo of the screen and save it. Then stop. Proof lives, boasting doesn't. I call Janine because speed without control is how people break ankles. Congratulations, she says. We're live. We're thorough, I correct. Inspection? Full scope, roof to crawl space. We're not trimming inspection scope. She laughs softly. Music to a realtor's liability ears. My phone buzzes with Mark's name. I let Janine listen to my side. Why buy big, Dad? Me. To host what needs hearing. Mark. You can do that in a living room. Me. I tried. They closed the door. Strengthening such crunch up my walkway 10 minutes later. She likes to do first meetings in person so nobody misreads tone in an email. She hands me a thin folder like it's a delicate pastry. Deposit is posted, she says, tapping her screen. Inspection calendar invite is en route. 2 weeks is tight. Irreversible don't scare me, shortcuts do, I say. Then don't take any, she answers. I'll push vendors who owe me favors. A jogger slows at the sidewalk, chest heaving. Heard you bought the Hill House, he puff laughs, then keeps going. Janine arches an eyebrow. Word travels fast, she says. The key fob in her hand chirps when she squeezes it. Faster than escrow, sometimes. Portal pings with confirmations marching into place. Deposit acknowledged, inspection window requested. I save the confirmations into quiet receipts, STAC escrow, without letting any numbers dribble onto my tongue. One composite note is enough. Escrow open. Deposit/inspection, confirm saved. Close date, T-minutes 14, visible. Vanessa, right on cue, bachelor. This is spectacle. You don't need a mansion to apologize to people. Me. I don't need a mansion to set chairs in a circle either, but it helps when the door stays open. Wilmington watches my face without prying. Family drama tax? Paid in advance, I say. Your buying place, she says, matter of fact. People will try to rent it with their narratives. They can bring a story, I say. They can't bring a binder. She grins despite herself. Good, now inspection. Full team Friday and Monday if needed. If anyone is late, my calendar starts bumping dominoes. I'll build in Slack everywhere but scope, I say. 2 weeks is tight, she repeats, softer. Any slip and we push a week. I heard you, I say, and I prefer hearing to hurrying. Mark again, unwilling to let it lie. Mark, you're setting yourself up to fall. Polluted me. I'm setting a place to stand. I open the portal one more time to the cover sheet, let close date from a Technom 14 fill the screen, and then close it before I start fussing it like a scab. The measuring tape sits where I left it, edge catching sun. I lay my palm on it the way a mechanic taps a hood to feel a motor's temperature. Quotations, Deneen checks her watch. I'll email vendor names, don't reply. All keep tone crisp if you must poke anyone. Short answers, I say. Let the forms do the heavy lifting. Exactly. She steps back toward the sidewalk. And Bob, don't plan a party until the notary stamp is dry. And we both pretend that's the first time I've been told to be patient. The phone buzzes again. Calendar invite for inspection. Friday, 10:30 a.m. I don't open it, not yet. Janine's last line hangs in the air like chalk dust after a fast cut. 2 weeks is tight, any slip and we push a week. I let the warning settle while I stare at the unopened invite, feeling the clock start without any help from me. The banker's hold music clicks off. and a human replaces it. Discharged on just posted, she says. Unmarried the app. One line is all I need. Completed 11:02 a.m. I take a single screenshot, square and calm, then put the phone face down so pride doesn't start typing. Janine calls before the screen can sleep. Naya's in. Keys are yours at noon. No shortcuts, I say. None offered, she answers. Check your inbox for the pickup code. I'll bring a pen that doesn't smear. She laughs. Bring the tone that doesn't smear. The Hill House smells like dust deciding to become air. I set my measuring tape on the foyer table beside a printed card. Housewarming, 2 to 5 p.m. The letters look like rules anyone can read. I tape a second sheet to the door. Privacy respected. Photos by permission. No one can say they didn't see the lines. Keys clink in my palm with the small ceremony I allow myself. I try them in the front lock, slow and straight. The deadbolt turns like it's been waiting all year to be asked properly. Mark's text lands as the door swings wide. Mark, don't air this in public. Me, what breaks in private doesn't heal in private. Mark, you'll regret turning this into a show. Me, it's a room with chairs. People can sit or stand. I carry a folding projector onto a sideboard and run an HDMI cord like a seatbelt. The remote red light blinks once. Standby holds. On the wall, a washed rectangle waits for facts. The kitchen's got the kind of echo that makes you want to talk softer. I resist. I run blue painter's tape along the threshold to guide where chairs will face. The step stool leans under the window, plain as a promise, not posing for anyone. It makes me feel older and steadier at the same time. Janine meets me in the driveway with a small envelope and a grin she keeps professional. Wildfires? Keys in hand? In hand. Then my work becomes watching yours. RSVP count? Clang, I say, the right ones. She nods. People respect rooms that look like decisions. The corner store neighbor pauses at the rail and tries on a thaw. Big place. Big enough to hear each other, I say. He huffs, not unfriendly. Saw that article. Court looks good. In Grace Mary could prospectively. Closed. Come by Sunday, I tell him, and he surprises us both with a yes. Back inside, I set the foyer camera where the room can see it and the room can forget it. The LED shows steady. I take one picture of the camera in place and nothing else. No angles, no drama. Emails stack while I unwrap cups and line them like fence posts. I skim only the headers and save them as a single sheet. Names, times, no content, no gossip. I clip that behind the wire screenshot and file both to quiet receipts/house. One combined note, wire confirmed, keys received, RSVP headers saved. Close the folder before the habit of perfection makes me ruin the day. Vanessa again. You're staging a tribunal. Me. I'm staging chairs. Truth can handle the rest. Families handle it privately. Families made this private. Community will make it honest. I walk the ground floor once more, not to admire but to memorize. Which switch feeds which light, where the extension cord wants to trip a cousin, how the sun lands at 2 o'clock and makes the screen fight back. I move the projector 3 inches left. The rectangle sharpens. Janine texts a thumbs-up photo of the key safe swinging empty. I reply with a single word, ready. She sends back a confetti emoji and then, as if catching herself, have a witness list. Keep it short. Owning the keys isn't victory. Using them right is. I write that on an index card and tuck it under the projector remote. A small sermon belongs under a small object, not on people. Wildfires, I test the doorbell. The chime answers from the ceiling, polite and clear. The foyer camera's LED stays steady, not winking for attention. I leave the projector on standby and let the room hold its breath. The phone on the foyer table wakes when I tap it. 1:42 p.m. The printed card beside it says what it has said all morning. Housewarming 2 to 5 p.m. Chairs face the blank rectangle on the wall. The step stool waits in the corner like a quiet witness. Tires on gravel. Voices. The bell rings twice, quick and sure. Ugged, I open the door to four faces the calendar didn't invite. Vanessa, pressed and bright. Mark, jaw set for peace that costs other people. Lily and Caleb, older than the last photo I saw, and trying to look younger than the mess that brought them. Dad, Mark says, stepping as if the threshold were a moving walkway. We're here to make things right. Then you'll like the sign, I say, tilting my head toward the foyer card. 2 to 5, public hours. Vanessa's smile tightens. This is a family matter. You made it one, I say. You also made it private. Today is the correction. Nangi's eyes shine. Grandpa, could we just talk before everybody comes? I want that, I tell her. And I mean it so hard it hurts. But not as a secret. Caleb, trying to be the bridge. We brought bags, just for a bit, till things settle. Vanessa lifts a small polished key from her purse like a magician with a coin. We won't be any trouble, she says, and sets the key toward the latch as if it has rights. She tries the knob at the same time, the confident twist of someone used to doors opening. And I told it to do. It thunks once, clean, and stays where it is. She presses again. The knob gives her nothing but her own reflection. Keys fail when they don't belong here, I say. That's not a metaphor, that's brass. A couple of early guests hover at the walkway with deviled egg carriers, doing the decent thing of pretending they can't hear. They can hear. Washington's voice drops into sugar. Bob, be reasonable. Don't make a spectacle. She jabs the doorbell again, like proof. You banned me with a binder, I say, steady. The door takes its cue. Mark reaches, palm out, the old referee move. Just 5 minutes. In private. 5 minutes were 20 years, I answer. This house is honest. It has hours. Lily's throat works around a try. I didn't know. I know you didn't, I say. That's why the room has chairs, so you can hear the story at the same time as everyone else who was given the wrong one. Vanessa steps closer, etiquette sharpened to a point. We don't air grievances in front of strangers. They aren't strangers, I say. They're the ones who watch me leave the cake table without raising their voices. Today we raise voices in order, 2 to 5. Ask me at the blank projection square. This is grotesque. Grotesque is a birthday with a binder, I say. This is daylight. She tries the lock again, quick and irritated, Matri. The deadbolt gives the same answer, no. Her mouth flickers around the word, unsafe. I see the script she wants to run and hold the handle so the door doesn't telegraph my hands. Take. My hands shook. The lock didn't. Mark drops his voice low enough to pretend virtue. You're choosing a crowd over your son. I'm choosing witnesses, I say. They're cheaper than rumors. From the walkway, the HOA president clears her throat softly to show she exists without taking a side yet. An early guest sets a casserole on the porch rail and stares earnestly at a plant so the conversation can happen. Vanessa turns to Lily and Caleb for the chorus. Tell him it isn't safe for us to stand out here. Unwilling doesn't move. Is it safe inside with us, she asks, looking at me, not her mother. It's safe when it's honest, I tell her. And the honesty starts at 2. Caleb shifts his duffel like it might argue on his behalf. We don't have anywhere to go right now. You do, I say. You have me from 2 to 5 with witnesses who will keep all of us better than we kept ourselves. Thin enough to cut fruit, you're humiliating your family. You weaponize courtesy, I say. I'm using schedule. Mark touches the frame with his fingertips and feels the line he can't cross. His shoulders drop a fraction. A hairline crack travels through his posture, small, but it finds grain. Dad, he says, and the word has weight again. This isn't you. It's exactly me, I say. The one you asked for space from. I took the instruction. Now I'm setting the terms for return. Behind them, a car door thunks. Another guest, then 2 rustle up the path. Vanessa clocks the audience and adjusts her pitch. Back at 2, she says to the air as if she's the one proposing it. Kids, put the bags in the car. Lily looks at me over her shoulder with a question that hurts. Will you still mean it in 20 minutes? I nod. I mean it now as practice. They back down the steps in choreography that tries to make retreat look like grace. Vanessa presses the family key into Mark's hand with subtle theater. He closes his fingers around nothing that fits. 2 o'clock, I say. To them and to the room. Two, Mark answers, not looking at Vanessa. They go. The porch goes quiet except for a fork clinking against a casserole lid as an early guest pretends to adjust foil. I shut the door because the clock asks first. Inside, the rectangle on the wall waits. The step stool in the corner looks exactly like a second chance I'm not handing to the wrong person. The phone on the table vibrates with a soft patience. I read the preview and let it dim again. May. Board just logged a second complaint, parking/elder safety. We'll handle it at session. I leave it unread. The clock says we'll keep our hours. The foyer card still holds its shape. Housewarming, 2:05 p.m. My phone lock reads 1:56 p.m. The line between hours and minutes has never felt sharper. Cars angle onto the gravel shoulder. Guests hover with casseroles and paper plates. Their shoes hesitate at the porch boards, waiting for a signal. Vanessa gives them one with her smile. She glides closer, tone pitched for the circle. We'd rather not embarrass anyone, Bob, but safety comes first. Parking's a hazard, and at your age. She leaves the sentence unfinished but heavy. Mark's voice tries to patch it. Maybe just let us in. People will feel calmer if they see family. Underestimated, I say. They'll see hours posted and chairs ready. Ragazzo tips her head, letting the word unsafe seep through her teeth like steam. The neighborhood app is already concerned. Catter at the edge of the lawn, a neighbor adjusts casserole foil and murmurs too loud to another. Unsafe elder running the show. Saw it on the app. The phrase travels quicker than smoke. Shoulders shift. Guests study the rail like it might break under them. Once, I say, voice carrying just enough. I stayed straight then, I stay straight now. The eyes flicker. Dad, maybe step aside until we sort this. You've got hours, I say, same as everyone, 2 to 5. The bell chimes without anyone pressing it. A clipboard in a reflective vest climbs the steps. The HOA runner doesn't make eye contact. His orders are clear. He tapes a sheet chest high on the front door and smooths it flat with practiced hands. The paper flutters once and holds. Black letters in bold. Notice to comply. Parking. Elder safety. Stamp at the bottom. Posted. 1:58 p.m. Vanessa inhales like a soprano ready for the last verse. See, she says to the group, even the board thinks. Meg, his voice barks from the curb before she can finish. Protocol posting only, no ruling. She lifts her phone. Session decides, not stickers. That holds perception is reality, May. Process isn't a cudgel, I say louder than I planned. It's a receipt. The casserole neighbor freezes mid-shift. The runner, duty done, walks off without a glance. The guests murmur, torn between stamped paper and the cards still on the foyer table. Caleb grips his bag. Can we just wait inside? This looks bad. Tightened, I answer. Paper on the door, clock on the phone, card on the table, all visible. That's safer than whispers. Refusal. Grandpa, I don't want people thinking you're... I know what they're saying, I cut in, gentle but firm. I'll answer with facts in the room, not on the porch. Vanessa spins toward the cluster of guests. You see, he's turning a gathering into a tribunal. I'm turning it into daylight, I say. Daylight doesn't pick sides. Mark's jaw cracks again, visible this time. Mom, maybe we let the board talk, not the app. His voice is quiet, but guests hear it. Vanessa does too. She stiffens like a flag losing wind. Punished paper flaps once more. Timestamp, catching light, 1:58 p.m. My eyes hold it, then drop to the phone in my pocket, 2:03 p.m. They stack paper, I stayed straight. I kneel once to adjust the projector's angle with the step stool. The square on the wall sharpens, steady. I flick the remote from standby to on. The rectangle glows, silent, waiting. At 2 p.m., I open the door on time and let the room see itself. Chairs in a horseshoe, projector, rectangle, steady on the wall. The step stool set at the front like a small lectern that had grown up. Thank you for coming, I said. We'll keep voices level and facts higher. If anyone needs to leave, leave. If anyone needs to speak, speak plainly. Valijit moved first. Families discuss privately, she said to the guests, not to me. Then start with this, I answered, and tapped the remote. The projector blinked, then filled with an email. The photo of a 3-ring binder open to unsanctioned items. And at the top, one clean line that mattered more than adjectives. Sent. Sat. 4:52 p.m. I let the room read. Position stood so the door notice behind her didn't do all the talking. For clarity, yesterday's notice to comply is protocol posting, not a ruling. The board decides in session. She paused, eyes on Vanessa. And to be factual, the complaint in queue lists V. Harrington as the submitter. Vanessa's smile tried to hold. This is indecorous. Underestimated. Rumor fights dirty, I said. We're using paper today. The corner clock on the projection read 2:17 p.m. The room breathed together. Position again, not to show, but to steady myself. Deacon Mills? He rose, hands folded, like a man walking toward a fence he should have fixed earlier. Mr. Harrington signed our roster this week. A call from family led to his removal. That was a mistake. We'll correct it. I'm sorry. He sat. His apology didn't wobble. Vanessa took a half step, etiquette sharpened. Our concern was safety and boundaries. Discharged a teenager from the court, orange paint long gone from her fingernails, but the confidence left behind, lifted a hand. He tells us to keep wrists loose, she said to the adults. That's a safety rule. The room gave a small laugh it had been holding too long. I walked to the step stool and set a fireproof box on it so the envelope rested at eye level. This came to my door years ago, I said. I photographed the outside this week with a witness line. I looked at Mark. I haven't read it. I'm going to read it now with witnesses. Vanessa hissed, absolutely not. Relinquid didn't echo her. He stared at the paper like it had been waiting for both of us. Dad, he said, voice low enough to be honest. Go ahead. I slipped the flap with a pocket knife the way you'd cut a stubborn twine. No drama, no jagged edges. I unfolded the page and kept my eyes on what was actually there, not what I remembered wanting. I'm weak, I read, the words like a plank set between two scaffolds. I know this isn't right. She says we need space. I'm asking you not to tell her I came. We would do mini, aware any moved in the university. I closed the page halfway so it wouldn't tremble. Signed, Mark. Silence did its good work. Lily's face changed first. Less anger, more math. Caleb swallowed the rest of a sentence he didn't need anymore. More lever. He was young, you're exploiting memory. Mark turned to the room, not to her. No, I wrote it. I let her drive. Because it was easier than growing up. He faced me. Dad, I'm sorry. For the binder. For the church. For the way I stood still while you walked away. His mouth tried to go on and couldn't, which was better than a speech. Truth, once spoken together, stopped shaking. May cleared her throat. Process, note for the gathered. The board will address both complaints Monday. The parking item and the elder safety framing will be evaluated on facts. She looked at the teens, the neighbors, the deacon. Witnesses matter. The reporter didn't raise her camera. She raised her pen. That felt like respect. Alt Vanessa's smile snapped like a cheap hinge. This performance. This room isn't a stage, I said. It's a room. With chairs. For hearing what was done and what we'll do next. Lily stood. Mom, you told us he chose to be absent. I told you what kept peace, Vanessa said. It kept you comfortable, Lily answered, and the quiet there hurt right and clean. Vanessa looked for the door and found the witnesses instead. Etiquette has nowhere to sit when the chairs are pointed at truth. She lifted her purse and left without slamming anything, which was the last control she had. I clicked the projector once more and put the email back on the wall so nobody could pretend they'd misheard. Then I turned to the people who'd carried deviled eggs up my drive. I won't ask you to pick sides, I said. I will ask you to remember what you saw. If you need me to build something for your porch or read something at your board, I can do that too. Deacon Mills said, we'll make a note in Sunday's bulletin. M.A. nodded once, the way a judge nods when a gavel isn't necessary. Mark wiped his eyes with a sleeve he didn't deserve to have to use. He took one step closer and stopped at the line people use when they're learning how not to break things. "I'm going to write the church and the HOA," he said. "I'll say what I did, and I'll ask what I can fix." "Sparkle," I said, "starts are public here." Dropped a fraction, each in its own time. I let them. Nodded a quiet gray. On my phone, without announcing it, I created a small square on Monday morning. Board minutes, 9 a.m. The calendar kept it. I didn't need to say it out loud. At 9:12 a.m., my inbox pings with a subject that lands like a level on a sill. Board minutes, decision on notice and freeze. I open it and look where truth sits in plain sight. Semantics, Monday, 9:24 a.m. I screenshot once, square, and file it to quiet receipts. HOA. Then I read the lines without savoring them. The parking/or safety notice is void. The freeze is lifted. Posted hours and rules are acknowledged as sufficient. Shed plans approved pending standard specs. May calls before I can forward anything. Minutes are live, she says, voice satisfied but not smug. I saw, I answer. Forestry, send your shed drawing. We'll stamp it Wednesday. And post a printed copy of the hours on site. Already on the table. Chuckles. Of course it is. For the record, the complaint author is closed matter. Accompany. I won't gloat, I say. I know, she says, and hangs up with a relief I can hear from the street. Deacon Mills leaves a voicemail that could be a hymn if he sang it. We've restored your name on the volunteer list and added a note of correction in the bulletin. I'm sorry again. We'd welcome you Saturday, same hours as before, and I save it. Not because I need the apology twice, but because apologies deserve a shelf where they won't fall. Mark texts a photo of 2 letters on his kitchen table, one addressed to St. Jude's, one to the HOA board. Mark, printed and signed, I'll deliver today. Plight, thank you. Send me a scan for the file. He sends them. The scan lands clean. He doesn't ask for praise. I don't offer a speech. Subjected and Caleb text together, like they finally learned to pass. Lily, we signed up for the Saturday shift at the court, Caleb, and we'll meet the deacon this week. Plunge, 2 to 5 for the court, and I'll be there for your first shift. Breathable, deal. Stow weapons, inevitable as the posts on the app, and we can talk. Me, boundary remains until your public apology matches last night's facts. Terminated, that's punitive. 9:18. A rule isn't rude, it's a promise you can read. Submerged in the minutes and set them on the kitchen table with the measuring tape as a paperweight. Order looks good on paper. On the porch, the air smells like new paint and damp stone. The mail carrier from last week taps the rail. Board post went up, nice work. Lines are holding, I say. Hey, Will, she answers, giving the mailbox a friendly slap that makes the flap clack like a metronome. By afternoon, I walk to the court with a roll of posted hour stickers and a screwdriver for the temporary sign. A teen from the first workday jogs up with a fresh ball and a rag. Takes out the lines, he says. You and every supervisor I ever respected, I answer. He laughs and kneels. The line looks like the day we snapped it on purpose. I post the hours. Weekdays 4 to 7 p.m., Saturday 2 to 5 p.m. A car slows. The driver reads without comment. Reading is enough. Forging hums. The city portal still says what it said yesterday. Under review, decisions by August 20th. Not everything needs to finish on my calendar. That's fine. Back home, I call Mark. He picks up like a man climbing a ladder he checked himself. I delivered the letters, he says. I saw the scans, I say. I'll be at the board session next time there's one. Good. Bring your hands. We don't say more. We don't have to today. At dusk, I stand at the Hill House threshold, with the door open to the housewarming 2 to 5 p.m., card turned face down until next time. The projector is dark. The foyer camera's LED is a polite dot. I flip the porch light off at the posted hour and close the door with the quiet of a job done to spec. Black mail arrives quiet, stamps louder than applause. I let the quiet have the last word. They tested patience. I answered with receipts and chairs. After 20 years, the house felt less new than earned, a room where truth could take its seat and stay. Justice came quiet, measured, squared, level, no gloating, just work. I pocket the measuring tape and let the metal snick home. Take. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. Type 1 if you resonate with this story.